Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a chat about good old Germany, and basically because of the next update and what they're going to be getting, the F4F ICE, and also what other nations are getting at the same time. Germany is one of those nations in the world which is a prolific exporter of its munitions, its arms, all of these different things, and that's pretty much shown in War Thunder when it comes to a bunch of leopards being all over the place, and I'm sure more coming into the future. If you've ever seen a spider diagram or just a general diagram of how many leopard variants there are out there and how many different nations use them, you will be amazed, and that is going to be shown in War Thunder in the future. And, another nation getting a 2A7, the Hungarian one, is not really too surprising to me. The vehicle itself, though, is not really that much different from the German one and has additional weak spots and has only an extra 50 cal. So we're not talking about a crazily different machine. The other thing that the dev server kind of showed was the Hungarian one actually has a higher set on it, meaning that the suspension was not really dragging it down as much. So being a taller vehicle means that it will be harder to hide it in areas, plus the overpressure points on it are kind of annoying. So yeah, it's one of those things which I feel like is going to be tossed about. There's been a lot of people already saying, why does another nation get a better leopard? And if I'm honest, I don't think it is a better leopard. I think it's slightly better in certain ways and slightly worse in others, just like all this stuff goes. The other part of it, though, is definitely worth considering, which is the aviation part, and it's the F4F ICE. The F4F ICE is coming in. It's going to be at 12.7, at least right now on the dev server, and it is worse by quite a lot compared to its competition, and that's just because of its flight model and the fact that it is a upgraded Phantom. There's a ton of these vehicles that are in the game, by the way, which are upgraded versions of older vehicles, and usually they are kind of bang or bust. They're either really good because of their weaponry, or they're just pretty naff, and they don't really do too much. And it looks like the ICE is probably going to be in the secondary category, but it depends how they make the active radar homing missiles go around, and also the matchmaking, that you'll see about the place with the new 13.0. But yeah, the F4F is definitely worse than pretty much every other single new jet that's coming into the game, or jet which is getting access to active radar homing missiles, and that sucks for it. Simple as. It's not a very nice situation, and unfortunately, every update there has to be a loser, because there is somebody who's going to get something worse. And right now, for aviation, that is Germany. This is because of a mixture of factors, mainly historical though, since Germany didn't really have anything at that time. Now, there is actually some interesting ideas. There has been some ideas coming out of people to try and address this issue by giving Germany different vehicles from different nations, and which don't really have any ties to Germany, but the idea is just to add them in, because then it will actually give them access to a competitive vehicle for the time being. This doesn't really work, though, because once you set precedents like that, then it kind of goes AWOL, and, nations lose their identity, and everything's all over the place. You could add fake vehicles in. They do that to Japan every so often, just to keep them competitive, but the issue is, with Germany, they kind of put their stake in the ground with that. The other part, which, a lot of other nations have actually experienced over the years, is the idea of just being patient. Britain, for the longest time, for pretty much 2 years, had some of the worst vehicles at top tier compared to aviation. They got stuff like the Phantom FGR-1, which then got their Doppler radar, which worked very well, and they were meta for a time. Then, afterwards, it kind of fell apart, and every other nation just kept getting more and more and more stuff. And then they added the Tornadoes, which weren't very good. Then they added, other vehicles, which generally weren't very good. And then they got a Gripen, and everything was fine. And that's pretty much what's going to happen to Germany. You know for a fact that Germany right now, with one vehicle in their tech tree, is probably not going to be very good. but the rest of the tech tree is very good, and on top of it in the future, you will see more stuff from them. So I understand it's infuriating right now when you have a look at Germany, because you want everything to be great. You want everything to be the best. You want everything to be enjoyable. But unfortunately, that is not a case for any nation in the game, and also just not a case for any game in a PvP setting. And that sucks. It really does. And I get why, people get annoyed with it. The fact is, the way that War Thunder works, especially at top tier, it's a revolving door, which means that every update completely changes what top tier looks like. So all you have to do is just wait a few months, and then top tier is completely different again, and then you can just go try it if you want to. In the meantime, there's so many more options to give stuff a go and to have a bit of fun with, and hopefully, people can take solace in that. One of the things for me personally is why it's important to play multiple nations. Instead of just playing one nation and getting infuriated every time your nation doesn't get something really cool in an update, it's much better just to kind of broaden wings and hope for the best and play a bunch of different stuff. Otherwise, what ends up happening is this, where you get too annoyed at the game because it doesn't give you what you want, and then you're just kind of screwed. But imagine if it was decided, okay, so I play Germany, how about I go play France for a bit? How about I go get, some of the nations to rank 3? And then maybe I can start doing the pages of history. Maybe I can start doing events with other nations. Maybe I can broaden my wings. And you'll just have such a much better time. It will just be fantastic. And also just understand that in the future, Germany's going to get a ton of really cool stuff. Germany is, I think, it might still be the most played nation in the game. So the idea that they're not going to give it a bunch of cool stuff is kind of ridiculous. They just gave it the best MBT in the game. It had one of the best helicopters for the longest time, and the mid-tiers have been fully fleshed out. The fact that they added so many different light tanks, which were all incredibly powerful, into the mid-tiers and the high tiers should really, make you really enjoy the nation. But c'est la vie. Instead, we're focusing on one vehicle and how it's not going to be very good into the game because it's a new vehicle. And that kind of sucks. I kind of like the Condor 2. I think the Condor 2 is pretty cool. I think the Leopard 2 Canadian's pretty cool. I think 99% of the German tech tree is fun and enjoyable to play and also fits in the meta really well. So when we focus on one vehicle and when we get annoyed about one vehicle, which we know in 3 months is going to get replaced anyway, it just kind of makes me sad a bit, and I just wish times were quite different. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.